welcome back to part 2 of this End of the World playthrough, as we are resuming things as the pirate class. Spent already a good 40 minutes in this playthrough. It's really exhausting, no doubt about that. And we already kicked things off with a good old Demon Lord encounter. And this time around, he actually has that 2 times modifier. So, what this means is it becomes a little bit more difficult to actually evade him and, well, do so without getting hit too seriously. And, once you get to, 1,000 kilometers plus, things start to get a little bit more hairy as you do run into more intense creatures. Harpies I could really care less about, but some other really nasty enemies tend to be like, well, wolf hunters, the minotaur creatures, yeah, that dungeon there with that dragon, I saw that dragon, so yeah, you want to keep away from him as much as possible. But as you might see with your playthrough, is that you'll run into a lot of situations in which they're just all over the place, and that was actually a problem of mine getting through the last stretch of this. Just had one little segment in which I had to replay the part over and over again because no matter what, there were like dragons all over the place and they were just one hit killing me. And it was no joke, it was just really, really depressing. And I actually noticed in the upper left there, Battle Hardened Ryan. Who would have thought? But that's like, what? I mean, is that just... Yeah, that's like a past me. That is a past me. That's pretty depressing, I'll tell you that. That much is for sure. I mean, already here at 1,075 kilometers, 925 kilometers to go before we actually reach victory. And I think the biggest question I had in my mind doing this whole playthrough was what is actually there at the end of the world. Do you actually have like a final encounter that you have to deal with, or is it just really anticlimactic and that it just ends in a flash? I mean, that's like, I had no idea what to really expect until I actually beat it. But of course, that's always the case. But yes, this playthrough, as always, just due to the nature of it, it is a post-commentary. And as such, it's a little bit on the awkward side, just because you can't listen to the music. That's for one thing. Not being able to listen to the music in this game is just depriving yourself of a lot of good stuff. I mean, I don't know, I'd like to think the music makes, I don't know, I don't want to say 50% of this game, but maybe 35%. It's really important to me in terms of what keeps me actually playing this game. Otherwise, this game really can become very time consuming. I mean, one playthrough, if you do pretty well, it can take 30 minutes plus easily enough. And especially if you're doing runs like this where you're trying to get 2,000 kilometers clocked in, you're probably looking at double that, an hour plus, just to do it, unless you got some really sick gear and you just breeze through it like no one's business. I mean, I'm sure that's possible. I mean, there are people who have defeated the darkness in like less than a few kilometers right at the beginning. I think I've done that myself, but my memory kind of escapes me at the moment, so I'm not sure where exactly I defeated the darkness at. Was it like 7 kilometers, or I doubt it, but I'd have to look back at my videos and hopefully see how well I did. Even though a fight with the darkness is always one of luck, if anything. never know how it's going to go. And the biggest important thing is being able to combo off many times. Hopefully every hit you do results in like a combo. At least hitting 3-4 times in a row. Because you do that and you use Berserk, you can deal a lot of damage, and that is very vital against that freaking Dark Dragon. But then again, that's kind of escaping from what's going on here, which is really the most important part. I mean, for the most part, from 1,000 kilometers to, I would say, 1,700 kilometers, everything went well for the most part. A few snags here and there. This was actually a pretty bad point, in which I was surrounded by mountains. Like a first time ever, I would say. It's the worst predicament to actually be in. And you have the Demon Lord. If he's actually attacking you, you have to climb these mountains. He would kill you instantly. So this was a case in which the buddy tablets essentially saves my life. But you know, before you can even enjoy that kind of victory, you get stuck into a corrupted lands. It looks neat, but what lies in corrupted lands are just god-awful. All the creatures there, not your best friend, that's for sure. You get thrown into this kind of land, you're gonna have a bad time. Just gonna have a bad time. And of course, you know, what else would be in the corrupted lands? Other than a dragon. And quite a few of them too. But that's pretty much the name of the game. Once you get towards the end game here, you tend to run into a hell of a lot of dragons. Anything that's nasty, it's just asking for trouble. Luckily though, I do have the Dark Dragon Fang. Or is it the Dark Fang Blade? Yeah, I think that's it. That thing's been dealing like 600 plus damage to some of these guys. But it seems like on average though, it's like 300. Only when I get critical hits, it does like 600 damage. It's awesome to see though. I have no idea whether I could actually do this kind of run with, I don't know, some of the more sword heavy classes, the hero, the swordmaster, knight. Swordmaster, if anything, I would use maybe to pump up his strength and his agility, just so he has really strong hits, but a very strong chance to combo as well. So if you do encounter pretty tough enemies, yeah, you at least have a chance to cause quite a considerable amount of damage to them. And we start seeing this with the pirate as you go further and further and you gain more and more lives. His agility slowly goes up, although not the greatest, but it gets to a point where he is capable of comboing, and it does show after a while. Of course, it's much later, but nonetheless, you know, as you see here, we're continuing to get harassed by the Demon Lord. And once again, like I said, the Demon Lord is not the worst enemy here. He's predictable enough. It's the enemies that could spawn at any moment. They're the most unpredictable element in a Demon Lord encounter. So you never know. Oh yeah, this crap. For some reason the game likes to troll you and throw in a village that's full of horrible creatures. Just as you saw before, it had dialogue that you would normally see with, you know, some villagers and whatnot. But, you know, it trolled me pretty good, and it did manage to end my run, and then I had to restart all the way back, God knows when. And I just finally, you know, I cut back to, you know, the kilometers that I was when I died. It might not be so obvious, but that's because the building I was just at, I think it was up north. It just passed by, but nonetheless. Oh, and here's another fun, you know, troll village. I swear, it must be like I don't even know if I'm in the corrupted lands, to be honest with you. No, we're snowfields, and yet we're getting corrupted villages. It's ridiculous. But you run into them a lot, and once I figured out to actually buy save crystals, I made the mistake of buying just 3. Because I had a stint in which I ran into a lot of the lady who saves, and thus, therefore, the chance to actually buy save crystals. I only took the opportunity to buy 3 at one village, but then I kind of just said, you know what, forget about it, I'm not even going to bother buying any more. Because, you know, I figured I'd be all set, and I think this is the part, too, yeah. Picked up 3 save crystals, and before you know it, going right into, like, what, all 3 dots here, they're all villages, and they have save ladies in them. So this is the thing that drives me nuts about this game sometimes also. You'll have runs which villages never show up at all, and sometimes you really do need them. But then some other runs you just get so many villages that it's just ridiculous, you have no use for them. And this is where I really neglected things. Should have bought save crystals from that lady, and should have bought save crystals here. Because, heck, even if you go 100 kilometers farther, that's a good opportunity to save, because you never know what's up ahead. And, you know, who really wants to backtrack a couple 100 kilometers back just to remake it, you know, make it back? It's just something that's really a morale killer, and hard to really get back from if you kind of lose patience. So this particular ending is all about patience as well. You just have to hope everything comes together, no problems, even though that's far from ever happening in this game. And I was a little nervous here because I saw the dialogue, but past instances told me, you know what, you better not look there, but sure enough, it was legit village and another save lady. I'm thinking if I was actually smart about it, at the most I could have picked up 12 save crystals, and that would have ensured things, at least they went a little more smoothly, I guess. 100 kilometers here, save, 100 kilometers there, save. Makes the process a lot easier, but nope. I guess I was feeling pretty ambitious when I just bought 3 save crystals. And of course, this freaking Demon Lord. But as you can see at this point, my agility is actually going up there, so I'm able to actually outrun the Demon Lord. But then again, as you notice, he doesn't have his ×2 multiplier applied to him, so he's not getting those bonuses. And that's what's really been screwing me over in terms of past encounters with that freaking guy. Of course, it's always a shame that, you know, you waste a buddy tablet on him, but you really can't really get rid of him from the equation unless you're fighting the darkness, in which that's the trigger for recruiting the Demon Lord. And at least for me, I've never seen much use in having the Demon Lord. It's like he's there for a bit, but nonetheless, it's kind of useless. And this is a really discouraging part. Freaking dragons, as always, ruining my day, and he ruined that merchant's day. Alright, you know, no hard feelings. I'm just gonna run the hell away from there, and you know, hopefully all goes well at this point. Even with the Dark Fang blade, you know, the strongest blade around, since, you know, it came from the darkness himself, even that sword's not one hitting most of these enemies. It's because they've leveled up to such a stupid amount in which they can actually hold their own. It's not fair, I tell ya. And there's another dragon, that's great. So many dragons in these corrupted lands. And this isn't even a corrupted land, this is a volcano. Nonetheless, though, I mean, you get harpies, you get dragons showing up here. Just a bad mix of enemies. And a lance, one of my favorite weapons in this game, just because I like the ability to strike your enemy from a distance, even if it's just one square away. It kind of makes me feel more secure than, you know, using a bow and arrow. Because those, I don't know, maybe thank Final Fantasy IV for kind of ruining bows for me. I just don't really see them as useful unless you're fighting the darkness, because they kind of throw it in your face that, hey, you know what, you better use a bow against them. But I've never really used that method at all. Although I think some people have, right? I believe so. Then again, the only exposure I've seen of someone actually beating the darkness was right when the One-Way Heroics first came out, when they had this whole sweepstakes or the little contest as to who can be the first one to actually find the secret boss and defeat him. And that was an interesting run, I would say. They recruited the king, I believe. All I know is they waited quite a bit before they actually fought the darkness, which I guess can be pretty interesting. You level up, get your stats high enough so that, you know, your hits actually deal quite a bit of damage, but, you know, you can easily find out that right off the bat you can do a horrible amount of damage without even leveling up. There are interesting runs also in which you power up the melee damage and just don't even use a weapon. Let your fist do the talking. If you use the perk that increases melee damage all the way, and I'm assuming, you know, using all 5 slots dedicated towards that one perk, you can deal a horrible amount of damage. I'm talking like Final Fantasy I black belt damage. It's ridiculous. And I don't know, it seems to me that the Demon Lord he never just leaves you alone. Never leaves you alone, man. He's just always there. He's always there to run your day, and I just can't outrun the guy. I swear, he had like 5 barriers, but it doesn't help things much. I mean, I've always felt safer if I had like a NPC or 2 tagging along, because the extra damage is really useful, and it's one of those crutches that, you know, easy mode in this game really gets you used to, I guess. Because, you know, when you go on easy mode in this game, once you fight the Demon Lord at 400 kilometers, you get 2 NPCs to help you out because you're such a cool guy. It's like when you step out of that difficulty area, you know, they throw you out on the streets and say, you know, good luck. Good luck, you got crappy equipment and not much going on for you, so you know what, have fun with him. And you just get wasted by his great force abilities. But speaking of which, force abilities are going to be very useful. As you can see here, I'm making full use of the detection force ability, because it's actually letting you know via indicators there where a huge mass of enemies are going to be, and you know, you can kind of make it so you only run into one rather than a whole gang of them. And it kind of prepares you, you know, once you've gone through this area enough times, you get an idea of what creatures are there, so you can kind of, you know, step carefully, kind of guess what's going to come your way, and possibly prepare for it, dare I say. But it's very useful, and I would recommend it, especially when you get later and later in this run, because we're getting close to 1700 kilometers, and once you get to that point, you wanna make sure you save, and you wanna make sure you don't screw up. Easier said than done though, because this game has a really good tendency to throw really horrible things your way. And just speaking of which, here's Mr. Dragon, and he's such a scumbag, and he's pretty tenacious. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. Pretty tenacious for a dragon. And of course, how do you get out of this? Well, you just hope that traversing mountains will actually do the trick. And sometimes that does. Even going diagonally on mountain tiles like that, I don't know, sometimes it trips up the AI. Or maybe it's just dumb luck on my part, but nonetheless, I got out of a really hairy situation, which I was certainly going to die there. Because me and dragons, we just don't get along. I mean, I'm always going to curse that one episode. Step out of a village and then what kills me? Yeah, the burning fire from a dragon that was just waiting conveniently right outside the village. It was back when I was just playing the game for the first time, so I was pretty confused as to what was going on, and, you know, besides confused, I was pretty pissed also. But, you know, that's besides the point. And finally, Mr. Demon Lord gets the hell away from me for once, jeez. I mean, he'll just hound you the whole way through. Even until the very end. And now, as you see, this is where I do my final save for the most part. Good old 1717 kilometers. And I remember that so perfectly because, well, this was a stretch of the playthrough in which I had to replay quite a few times because I got shafted so many times by all these stupid creatures that they throw at you. Especially with the corrupted lands towards the end. Forget about it. And this is also a pretty shitty situation. You're in water tiles and mountains, but luckily you're the pirates, so you can actually swim pretty well. You do gain like abilities, or at least your stats increase in terms of being able to swim, being able to climb mountains. I think the adventurer can do that also, but I think the pirate makes good use of that as well, at least in terms of swimming goes, because I've been able to swim pretty well and got me out of a lot of hairy situations so far. And also something that was helping me out a lot throughout this run was the fact that I was picking up so many restorative items frequently also. I mean, God knows you won't make it long if you're not picking up any items such as like healing herbs or healing vials. I mean, if you're just at a huge deficit of any of those items, it's like you don't really have much of a chance of lasting long. And also a very beneficial item is animal meat. It's pretty plentiful at times too. Got a stupid unicorn there. And a vial of healing. But, you know, through persistence, you will eventually get to the end there. I believe it stops at 1999 kilometers rather than just straight up 2,000. We'll find out, but I think that's what my recollection tells me. Because, you know, this was the first time I've ever gotten this particular achievement. And unfortunately, this isn't actually the Steam version that I'm playing. This is instead the standalone. So there's no achievements like attached to it or trading cards attached to it at all. And the reason for that is, well, for some reason xXCyzarXx just stopped recording one-way heroics on Steam. I don't understand why. But when I use the standalone version, it works fine. So same game, but I don't know, xXCyzarXx is so picky sometimes. Nonetheless though, able to actually still record it without, you know, using methods I'd rather not use, such as Microsoft Encoder. Yeah. But yeah, luckily enough I was able to use or at least get the X story to work with this setup, and, well, do this run for you. I think this was always the one run that was eluding me for the longest time, and of course, Demon Lord actually got his revenge finally, and he put me down pretty badly. It's a very discouraging moment, but nonetheless, after throwing the controller and, sitting back for a couple minutes, cursing life and everything else, you pick up the game and, you refuse to be smacked down by this game, and just, you move on and, you try to beat it, and, you hope to the video game gods that it throws you a bone. And it definitely does, eventually. But yeah, it took more than an hour because, well, you do well for a good stretch of it, but then you run into moments when you just can't get through like a certain portion of it, and then it just gets really frustrating for one thing. And what does that cause? You to just toss the controller in anger, toss it, throw it, slam it, whichever verb you want to use, but one of those will work. Then you just have to sit back and just let off some steam for a little bit until you feel nice and calm and ready to actually continue taking on this exhausting task, which is going the distance. What can I say? It's just going the distance here. Just a lot of freaking crazy creatures. And they do toss a lot of crazy stuff at you towards the end. And that's the worst part. You get to, 1900 kilometers, and then you die? That is the worst feeling ever. It's like you're at the final stretch of the race, and then you trip, and then everybody just passes you, and you're nothing. You just get last place, and that's the general feeling. But yeah, one hugely important tactic is to use shields. For the longest time I've been using just some accessory to boost critical hits, but towards the end I figure you have enough durability for this, to make use of the scaled shield or any kind of shield. I mean, at this point it should last you long enough, and as long as you have a scroll of jerry-rigging, then that restores everything you have equipped to max, and slightly less durable, but nonetheless it gets you through the rest of the stretch here. And shields are really important because it cuts the damage you take so drastically here. Or at least that's what it seemed like to me, because normally these guys, those Minotaurs, they can sometimes combo you, and one of those can pretty much knock you 2/3 of your life. And, well, with the shield, it kind of changes that greatly. And a Grand Blade. It really has nothing on my Dark Fang Blade, so, who cares about it, right? And so, let's see, 1827-ish, I guess. Yeah, we're getting there. It's really close as opposed to, where we have been for like the past 40 minutes, hour at this point. Who knows? I kind of lost track at this point. That was kind of like the general feeling going through this whole playthrough. Oh, and the Demon Lord, as always, right? And wow. I don't know what happened there. I think a village just got massacred. That's just my guess, but I probably wouldn't be wrong in that assumption. But yeah, you'll see as I get closer and closer towards the end, I'm just really, really adamant about using that detection force ability. Because that kind of information, that kind of reconnaissance is crucial at this point, because God knows the last thing you need is to walk right into a trap or into a large group of enemies. luckily, this was not a troll village. Thankfully. 'Cause I was starting to think, you know, the later you get, then the less likely you are to actually run into a legit village. I just figured everything was corrupted and that, you know, if you missed them early on in the run, then, you know what, tough luck, man. But luckily they threw me a bone here and, what was it, we talked to the chef and refilled our energy. Not bad. Not too bad at all, especially with the tasty lunchboxes. And the, what's this, the mandatory ambush? Hate those guys. They seem to be a lot worse on Plus. At least because you have like mid-level bosses in that game, so I'm not sure if it, I don't think it really applied in this base version, but my god, if you had like a mandatory ambush of like the bandits, sometimes one of them could be, you know, like a boss level enemies, and they can deal a lot of damage and take a lot of damage, while you have other guys whacking away at you, then, you know, just spells really bad things. Oh yeah, I see a lot of good things coming though from One Way Heroics Plus. It's going to be a really good DLC. I've been playing the Japanese version for quite a bit now. I mean, it's evidence because I have videos of it, so, you know, just showing it off. And, you know, if there's any possible bugs that show up, then at least it's documented in video. Might be useful. I mean, I would highly doubt that anyone close to the game, like development-wise, would ever see these videos, but you know what? If they ever do, I just want to let you know that I love this game. I mean, it's very economical, very, very addicting. That's like the main thing about this game, is it's horribly addicting. It might as well be gambling for the hell of it. Somewhere to something, there is a kindred spirit, and you know what that kindred spirit is Frida. That's like the one NPC we have in this whole playthrough, is Frida. Of course, though, it's pretty useless at this point because I'm a pirate, so no one likes me by nature, and well, yeah, end of story, no one likes me. But we're getting really close now. It's less than 60 kilometers. But at this point you have to be really careful, because you have dragons here who really ruined my run many times. I think I was gracious enough to just cut out those deaths because, well, I don't know, it's heartbreaking enough for me to like see it the first time. Kind of watch this now and, you know, see me die over and over to those stupid things. I don't think I could handle that, so yeah. But as you can see here, these freaking corrupted lands, you have stupid dragons here, you got dragons there, it's just, they have a surplus of the crap, and it's, these things hit so hard. Awful, man, it's awful. But on the bright side though, we have less than 10 kilometers practically. And always mountains are blocked away, right? It was interesting though. Last stretch of the whole playthrough, and well, you could guess who actually shows up. It's that stupid freaking Demon Lord. And I had no idea what to do because I had no idea what to expect. I mean, I knew, okay, 2,000 kilometers, that's kind of the end game, but what happens exactly? And I had no idea, really. I never knew. But we're going to find out really soon now, because, what, very, very shortly, less than 5 kilometers, and of course, freaking Demon Lord comes back with a vengeance for the last part. So I'm not sick of seeing you, of course not. No, I've only seen you like a million times. But off in the distance, you finally reached the end of the world. And finally, I don't know, I was really surprised because I was more, you know, caught by surprise by the freaking Demon Lord. I wasn't expecting him to show up. But sure enough, he shows up, and I didn't even realize I reached like the 2000 mark until that happened. So I wasn't sure what to expect, but sure enough, you reach the end of the world, and then you get treated to this really cool ending. And if you never actually fought the darkness, or even knew how to actually initiate it, this is the way to actually learn about it. And it's the whole system. You grab a holy weapon, you throw it at the darkness, and then that initiates the fight. And at that point, I know I used the holy lance to fight, but I don't know. I think any weapon might work against them once you actually start the fight. Could be wrong about that, but I do also know any NPCs they're useless in that fight. They're better off dead. But something tells me you get like some kind of a ending, like an additional ending, if you do, for example, have the Demon Lord survive the encounter. Which, yeah, good luck. But anyways, yeah, it's a pretty intense ending, I would say. I mean, what, you're the last guy in the universe, well, not universe, but in the world. You're fighting a huge dragon the size of a mountain, and, well, I mean, what's the best thing to do at that point, other than to, screw it, I'll just kill myself, why not? Such a large enemy, it'd be, equivalent to suicide to fight him. Yep, pretty much. At least in a past life we defeated the Dark Dragon, so I don't feel too bad, because, got his sword, so joke's on him, right? But that is the ending for End of the World. Be sure to soak in what it actually tells you, because once again, if you have no idea how to initiate the fight with the Dark Dragon, then that's the key. Other than that though, this has been, well, got the world's end bow, so that's pretty sick, right? Get a nice weapon in the deal. Be sure to move it to your dimensional vault. But aside from that though, this has been the End of the World playthrough. Hope you enjoyed both part 1 and part 2. And I will see you for when I continue doing more videos in One Way Heroics Plus. So thank you everybody for watching, and see you later.